2020 started off with Australian brushfires, right? It was all over the news. Quickly, we had significant losses in our own Maranatha community. Less maybe significant to us here, but Prince Harry and Meghan quit the royal family. COVID-19 swept the world. We ended up in quarantine and distance learning and working from home. We had the death of George Floyd happen here in Minneapolis and the protests and riots that followed. A lot of our activities and summer planning were canceled. And then school started up in the COVID-safe way here at Maranatha, while much of the state and nation was still in distance or hybrid learning. And of course, there was a presidential election. That's just a short recap of 2020. It was quite a year. Raise your hand if you had just a negative feeling while I recapped any of that. Right? It was a hard year. Richard Rohr says, how you think about anything is how you think about everything. We know that mindset is important. We hear it preached about, we hear speakers speak about mindset, and we see it evident, right? If somebody is facing a significant battle and they have a positive mindset, how they conquer that battle is proof, right, of how mindset is important. Yet, when we go through hard challenges, it's sometimes difficult for ourselves to keep that positive mindset. So if we think about 2020, our COVID, racial, political divides, many other factors, the joke around media and social media was about it being the worst year ever, right? The memes that surrounded everywhere. I don't know how many 2020 memes I saw and laughed at, but they were, right? They're everywhere. The news, all the news talked about was negative, right? If you turned on anything, you were just surrounded by that negativity. And it kind of felt like our reality was falling apart. But then we have to take a step back and remember, right, that God is our strength and we are not supposed to put our trust into circumstances, but in Him alone. It's also a little bit convicting when we think about it that way and reflect back on our attitudes and our mindsets throughout this year and how it impacted not only ourselves, but our children. So we do need to take this time now that we're in 2021 and think, how would we react differently if a year like 2020 were to happen again? This month in lower school, I focused my classroom lessons on a growth mindset. And a growth mindset simply means that we believe that our basic abilities can be improved through hard work and dedication, right? We're not set in that way. We can make a difference. And I actually, when I sent out the summaries to parents, I received probably more email responses than I have ever received about how important this lesson is for our children. And I think back to our core values here at Maranatha. And these are the core values that we instill into our students. So I just want to kind of walk through these and how they relate here to our mindset. So spirit-driven leaders, knowing that we let God lead and we trust in His plan. In my exercises with the lower school students, some of them had an opportunity to write out what they would say to themselves in a challenging circumstances. And it always just blew my mind because in every single classroom there would be a number of students who would write something along the line is, God is with me. I put my strength in Him. Our students know that. They know that He is part of that. Courageous change makers, letting our students and ourselves know that we have the power to make change. Empathic problem solvers, when we train our brains in this mindset, we learn how to lead with empathy. Impactful innovators, knowing that if we go through failure, it's not bad. Failure is actually a tool that teaches us how to grow. Curious explorers, a mindset that embraces exploration means that even when things get hard, we continue to find ways to understand and see the world. And gracious community builders, when we embrace the challenges in our life, we create win-win solutions. And gracious words, not only to others, but to ourselves. I love that looking through this is what my son is being taught every day. I love that knowing this is something that we work through in so many different areas of our school. Teaching our students that when we face challenges, we can get through them, right? That it's a learning opportunity. But then as an adult, sometimes I forget that. And I think it's a good reminder. Maybe we don't like a certain policy that's happening right now in the world. How we react to that policy, though, may just influence how our children react to a policy change within the school. So how are we teaching our children through our own mindset? And this year gave us a lot of opportunity to express and model how we overcome and how we use our mindset. Again, policies were changed in the world that maybe we didn't agree with. Vacations were canceled. We couldn't gather with our friends and family at times. Maybe we didn't have the person get elected that we voted for. And dignity of others were called into questions. So how do we move forward with that? Our circumstances can be hard, and I definitely don't want to negate that there were many important, challenging times throughout this year. But we do want to teach our children how we move forward, that we can still be in control of our own attitude and our reaction. Again, the mindset doesn't say that you're not able to express your emotions or that you shouldn't feel emotions regarding circumstances. But instead, how do we move forward with them and not just get stuck? Ecclesiastes 3:4-6 says there's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones. I like this part, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away. So we know that God has created these emotions and that he is with us through these circumstances, but sometimes our mindset keeps us feeling stuck. So we do need to determine what's in our control and what is out of our control. When we get too caught up in the things that are out of our control, it makes us feel even more overwhelmed. So we want to focus our energy on what we can impact, including our attitude, how we respond, and how to move forward. So what does this look like? Maybe in this past year, you have been struggling with your mindset. The first thing that we need to look at is how are we talking to ourselves? How can we change our self-talk? Are you encouraging yourself positively? Second, you need to change your language. Some of our language might be more focused on fear or what we lack than on gratitude. And then we do need to determine what that mindset we want is. It's not all about 2020. Sometimes our mindset needs to just be focused on our own goals. Maybe your goal is to eat healthier, and you're like, I hate broccoli, just hate it. I gotta just suck it down because I gotta get my vegetables in, but I just hate this stuff. But what if we faked it until we baked it? Man, I'm making this awesome broccoli roast tonight. It's gonna be delicious, right? Your mindset. I might still not really be digging it, but my mindset, what we speak to ourselves over and over again, makes a difference. We also need to take time to learn and apply. So if while I'm talking here, you're thinking, yes, I need to learn more about my mindset. Maybe there is an opportunity for you to pick up a new book or to listen to some podcasts. I love listening to podcasts, so that's one way I like to go. But taking just time to learn more. It's also important about who we surround ourselves with. We tell this to our children all the time, but sometimes it's harder for us. So if there's that person at work or maybe in your family that is always focused on the negative, they will in every conversation bring up how much they hate these or whatever that conversation is, be around the people who are positive, are having the mindset that you want to have. And then it's about creating new habits, setting small goals. Whenever there's a new habit around something like mindset, we want to think, how do we start small? So maybe today I'm going to start by, every day this week, I'm going to say 5 positive things to myself. Proverbs 17:22 says, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. I think a lot of us felt that crushed spirit in this past year regarding one of the many circumstances that happened. But that again has to do with how we're reacting, right? What is our mindset around it? If a cheerful heart is good medicine, how are we healing ourselves? How can we take some of these points to help us feel better? This has been a challenging year, and it is important that we take time and reflect back on any time there is a challenge. And it's also a new opportunity for us to decide, how are we going to handle challenges? So think back. Is there an area you need to grow in? Do you need to change your own self-talk? Do you need to learn more about mindsets? Or maybe you need to change the people you surround yourself with. If we go back to the quote I started with, how you think about anything is how you think about everything. We do need to think about our mindset. And our children are watching and learning from us. So we need to give them that example. We need to be kind to ourselves because we want them to be kind to themselves and continue their growth. Thank you.